He's had to come back before. Will he come back again? Let's have a look.
Oh, we have both second and the first boards on the screen, and we can observe both games. And this seems to be the board. Fedoseev goes with h6. You know, this is very Russian type of variation. They love to play h6 and e6 too. Lately, in most of the games, they're going with this setup, and this all started right before the World Cup in Sochi. I think they had a training camp before that, and they started to play these kind of setups.
Now, is Magnus going to play knight bd2 like Sochko did against him? And he does. So he was impressed by he was impressed by the way Sochko played the last game. So now why not play it yourself? He says, and knight bd2 on the board. And of course, what Magnus is trying to argue here is the move h6 is very cute. It stops bishop g5. But what Magnus is trying to do here is say, is it that useful? So I expect bishop g2 here by Magnus Carlsen. Playing a little, no, but he goes queen a4 check, knight c6, and a3, so he's playing like this, okay. And Fedoseev looking sideways, that means he's not looking at somebody in the audience, that means he's trying to remember or calculate what to do. Bishop takes d2, bishop takes d2, and castles. So, bishop g2 now by Carlsen. And of course, strategically speaking, Black's entire setup is very dubious because Black has given up the dark squared bishop and he has a problem with the bishop on c8. But Fedoseev is saying, I can find a concrete solution to my problems. Plays knight e4. So now the bishop is under attack. I fully expect the move bishop to e3 here by Magnus looks standard to my eyes. Fedoseev also really class Blitz player. Plays all the time, every week in the big weekly tournaments online.
Yeah.
Very good Blitz player.
Yeah, some people might argue that online chess and the over-the-board chess are not really connected, but it is very much connected. You're always in shape. Your brain is always working. You know what people are playing. What's your problem? Where you're having problem, and then you're working. So all those online players, starting from Alexander Kostyuk, they are so good at over-the-board Blitz games too.
Indeed. Bishop f4 now by Fedoseev. Sorry, by Magnus Carlsen, I should say. Putting the bishop out of harm's way. And now, again, Fedoseev with this problem to solve. What do I do with my light squared bishop? How do I complete my mobilization? And the answer to that, I don't know. A bit like Fedoseev, I'm also thinking, how do we get our pieces out here? The knight on c6 is also a bit clumsy.
Yeah, it's so limited and doesn't really have anything to attack. And usually pawn goes on that square, knight goes on d7 to support the rest of the squares.
Yeah, and Fedoseev also struggling here, spending a long time on this move.
I'm thinking at some point Fedoseev might go with f5 as he started to play knight e4 and no, first queen d7. That's quite an artificial move to put the queen in front of the light square bishop. What is his idea?
Well, his idea is that if Magnus Carlsen castles, it's a blunder because Black has got the move knight takes d4, which is a very well-known trap. And after queen takes queen, you can throw in the intermediate move knight takes e2 check and then capture back the queen. So that was setting up a mini trap. It was also potentially preparing a move like pawn to b6 and bishop to b7, after which he does, and the knight is now covered. So castles bishop b7. Fully expect rook c1 here, exactly. And it looks quite pleasant for Magnus. 2 bishops, better pieces. a5 is a good move by Fedoseev, preventing b4. And now Magnus has to find a way to put the pressure on Fedoseev. Just takes, feels correct, and knight e5, is that what he wants to do? Not completely clear. Queen back to a4.
All right, now knight d4, same trick is not working as the queen is open to capture that knight. And also, on the other hand, queen on d7 is not guarded anymore.
Right.
Rook c8, he wants to support c
Rook
file.
c2, very practical move. Looking to double.
How about knight e5 here or not? No,
g5. Time for...
I like that move. This
Yeah.
means that the game won't be boring. It's going to be very sharp, a lot of tactics. Maybe he goes with f5 next move.
Possibly. We have to find some moves here for black. And Fedos down to 26 seconds. Not a good sign. Magnus playing markedly quicker this game as well. Notice that Magnus a minute up. Fedos freezing here.
Knight
He
e5.
does play knight e5.
There we go. Queen
Queen
trade,
d7.
knight has to take it back.
Yeah, and now rook fc1, c6. And Fedos content to go passive, but really difficult to play passive chess against Magnus. And c5. Looking to rid himself of this pawn on c6. Also makes a lot of sense. f3 here by Magnus Carlsen, and it feels as though Fedoseev has actually done really well these past few moves. And c4 actually quite like. e4 makes sense, and knight f6 I like, e5, and knight back to e8. Now he wants to put the knight on e6, and he'll do that via g7. But the problem you've got is that after f4, how do you protect the d5 pawn, rook d8, and f5? Lovely move now by Magnus. Strangling that knight, h5. Maybe h4 here is a typical, yep, there we go. g4. And now some small improving moves. Magnus done brilliantly over these past few moves.
Absolutely.
Rook f2, b4. Okay.
Can try to push f6, bring knight on f5.
Correct.
Knight can jump on d6, so uncomfortable. Knight can also go on e7, attack d5, that's what he's doing.
Yep. Protects the pawn. 12 seconds each. So Fedo's done really well to get the time close, but such a tough position. He gives up the rook. That's a good practical decision, I think. That's a really good move by Fedoseev. Really good.
And he goes with to control open file.
Correct. Now bishop c6.
King goes on e3 to guard d4 weakness, and then rooks will be free to move away.
Bishop a4, rook c1. Bishop b3. Now the knight's coming round. Knight c7. It's going to...
And once again, king goes.
Check.
King goes.
c3! Magnus missed it. He missed the fact there's a pin. Now he's in big trouble. Rook takes b2. Now Magnus potentially in trouble because d4 is hanging with check. d4 is hanging with check. What is this? Why can't I play knight takes d4? Bishop c2 check. Also wins the exchange. Bishop takes d5. I still don't see why you can't take the pawn on d4. What am I missing?
He wants to push the pawns first.
I get it, but
Is not that a queen?
there we go. Now knight takes d4. Now you can make a queen.
Queen.
Ah, check is the end of the game. That's it.
Second lost in a row for Magnus Carlsen. This is so devastating. He is truly swearing. He cannot say that. He can't say that anymore. But we saw it. What a horrible 2 losses in a row. He cannot stop himself to show the emotions. He's so upset.